Now drive me far away, away, by caffeine. Summary. Dazai and Chuuya have broken out of an inescapable prison, killed an immortal, and now pretend their hearts aren't connected by the vein. The drive back from the airport is a quiet one. After touching down in Yokohama, it had been Dazai to break into and steal the car Chuuya now sits behind the wheel of. It's the dead of the night, the world around them dark and mute. Dazai wonders if Chuuya too feels they may be the only two alive. He doesn't ask. The only reason he's allowed himself to survive this long is the armed detective agency. They fed him in the prison much more than he'd normally eat, more than he'd allow himself to eat. Dazai looks down at his arms, stretches out his hands, frowning at the way they aren't as bony as they had once been. His fingers are slim still wrap around his wrists. This brings him a little satisfaction. He notes Chuuya eyeing him in the mirror, the frown he's been wearing for an unbearably long time making its appearance known. Dazai wants it gone. How much sleep did he get on the plane? Chuuya asks. A wordless shrug before a deadpan answer. None, I think. Dazai doesn't quite remember. The time spent in the plane not feeling real to him. Surrounded by people, yet the only one to truly exist hadn't even sat next to him. Dazai could hardly see him, only the vaguest notion of bright hair in between the cracks of the seats in front of him. It took a lot out of him convincing himself not to thread his fingers through the locks, almost more than he had. Chuuya sighs. You expect me to drive you all the way back to the detective agency? Soft words, a silent invitation Dazai almost doesn't want to grasp at. He's hesitant. He accepts it in a breath, jumps at it. No. Dazai replies shortly. He hums a bit, his voice low and tired and free of its usual falsified energy. Just back at your place. You seem awfully confident. A raised eyebrow. Dazai ignores the sight, leaning his head against the window. To convince Chuuya to drive, Dazai had agreed not to sit in the front seat, but rather the one in the back. He chose the one diagonal to his partner for the sole reason of catching the sharp edges and soft curves of his expression, the way his head is tilted back against the seat, the way his arm strains just a bit to reach the steering wheel while his chair is so far back. How much sleep did you get? Dazai asks. It's clear he wishes for them to return to equal footing. Chuuya allows it. Few hours, he admits casually. What did you do for the rest of it? Chuuya coughs. It sounds to Dazai like a sigh. A frown tugs on Dazai's lips as he listens. Same as you. Nothing then? Dazai lies. If reflecting on the past few years is nothing, then sure. Chuuya sees through it. Always does when it counts. Not 7? Years, he means. Dazai speaks through downturned lips. He swears his cheeks are sagging. He looks around but doesn't truly see much of anything. An infinite darkness envelops the car. They are alone in the world, together, two souls drifting alone, never touching, a barrier between them yet a glass wall separating them from everything else. Chuuya rolls his eyes, his hands tighten on the wheel. He doesn't want Dazai to be right. He hates that he is, hates it was him who made it so. Hates how easily Dazai sees through him. He isn't about to let Dazai believe he knows him more than the other way around though. No, not for a second. 7 years, Chuuya affirms, sounding annoyed at having to admit as much. All that keeps his words truthful is the devastating understanding that should he lie, Dazai would have no trouble discerning it. Dazai hums. It quickly dissolves into a sigh. Double black, so cuckoo, is many things. Revered, feared, perfect, something beautiful. Right now, tired, bone tired. It reverberates around the small car, isolated at the edges of it all. Driving home. Home. Dazai craves it with a disgusting desperation. Has never felt at home. Feels that for every moment he is away, his heart further erodes. Fears he someday will never return. A sigh slips from Dazai's lips. His skin prickles, not cold but demanding something more. He feigns crossing his arms over his chest, in actuality rubbing his hands over the whites of his uniform. Fitting. Here he is, free, yet trapped, in a car, in his mind, in his skin, alone with Chuuya. Chuuya? Dazai begins in search of his partner's attention, needing the focus to be on him instead of the winding roads Dazai feels like he hasn't seen in an eternity. Turn on the radio, won't you? It's been ages and these past minutes have been torture. Chuuya coughs. Only so I don't have to hear you speak. Don't you dare sing along, he says, unable to access the car radio and too uncaring to try. Chuuya unplugs the phone he picked up at the airport from the car's charger, pulling up the station he'd have preferred to play from the speakers. He's content enough to settle, turning it on and tossing the cheap phone aside. By the sounds of it, they've tapped in at the very end of a song. They sit in silence as they wait for the next in the queue. It doesn't last long, the pause in sound broken by the opening chords of their song. Their song. What Dazai and Chuuya discovered together at 15, danced to at 17, and listened to alone at 18. Chuuya's eyes widen. A quiet gasp drops from his lips as Dazai gets an idea. He hadn't been buckled in to start with. Chuuya isn't either, something he notes with a slight frown. So it's easy to climb over the barrier and wrestle himself into the front seat next to Chuuya. His old friend, his ex-partner, his Chuuya. Or maybe it's he who is Chuuya's. Maybe they've long staked their claims on one another. Dazai doesn't know. They won't talk about it. They don't have to. The hell are you doing? Chuuya grumbles. Dazai places a hand on top of Chuuya's head. It's all I could see on the plane? What? Chuuya coughs, swatting at Dazai's hand. It's all that felt real. Please? Dazai tries for a sing-songy voice. He never says please, not to Chuuya. Chuuya relents. It's all he can do. He sighs, rolling his eyes yet allowing it when Dazai's hand finds his head again, curves down to his face, and maybe, Chuuya leans into his touch, just a bit, and maybe it felt like the sun. Chuuya's pale cheeks flush, just a bit. Fine, he says far too late. Dazai grins, resting his elbow on the armrest. Chuuya yawns. He pulls up to his home, parking on the wrong side of the street. Think we'll have to do anything to the car? What do you mean? Dazai frowns. Chuuya coughs. You know what? It's obviously stolen. Dazai chuckles a bit. The member of the port mafia is worried about the law? Chuuya rolls his eyes. Not me. You. We just broke out of prison, Chuuya. So? You're with the Armed Detective Agency now. I don't want you back, so you better not do anything and make that the case. You don't want me back? Dazai frowns. No. Chuuya states firmly, crossing his arms. He sighs, his body relaxing. Look, you can play dumb, but I'm not. You don't belong in the port mafia again. It would kill you. That's the goal, Dazai teases. Somehow his words don't hold the conviction they normally would. Weird. Like hell it is. You survived that anemic bastard to get back to your do-gooder friends. Chuuya retorts. He rubs a hand over his eyes. You take the guy and go inside. I'll get rid of the car. Sigma? Dazai huffs at the offer. You carry him. What? Chuuya scowls. No, you. I've done all the heavy lifting up to now. I used my brain, Chuuya. It's way more work than you'd ever know. Dazai grins. His words are pointed, yet his tone suggests anything but. And Chuuya is too tired to be all that mad anyway. Can your brain bring the guy you insisted we drag back into my house? Chuuya challenges. Absolutely. Dazai insists. Then do it. No. Chuuya ends up carrying Sigma on his back. He leaves Dazai with instructions to blow the car up the same way he did to his car all those years ago. The memory leaves both parting, if only to hide the odd expressions mutual between them. 4 years ago, Dazai left. He's back. They're back. How do you feel? Chuuya ends up rushing back outside to contain the fire, a still unconscious Sigma lying limp on the couch. Tomorrow they'll reunite with their respective organizations. Dazai with the Armed Detective Agency, wherever they are. Chuuya with the Port Mafia, though it's only been a couple days since he last saw them. Apart. Tomorrow they'll be apart again, separated by necessity. Today, Dazai and Chuuya walk into Chuuya's home, into his room, into his bed, into each other's arms. Chuuya wonders if he'll wake up alone tomorrow. Dazai gone and taking the man Chuuya has yet to formally meet with him. Dazai hopes they can stay like this forever. Chuuya is right next to Dazai, his warmth flooding into his every crevice, the hollow in his chest pulsing as his eyes pull closed. I'm currently drinking something. I don't know what it's called. What is it called in English? I don't know. It's called Yansun in my country. I don't know what it's called in English. But anyway, I'm drinking something to soothe my throat because, oh my god, did it fail me halfway through. I think I'm still sick. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just telling you about my setup situation. Yeah, and if my voice still sounds weird or cracks somewhere or the other, that's because my throat is killing me. But yeah, this is still fun for me, so yeah, don't feel bad or anything. Anyway, thank you so much, Ellie, for giving me permission to podfic this. I hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I love this fic so much. It's calm, it's solemn, somber. It has many great lines that just made me pause. Because, like, whoa, how did you come up with that? I'm learning things from you here. And yeah, hope you enjoyed it. Hope I did this justice. I'm gonna check out your other fics soon because your writing style is mwah, and I want to do more stuff for my friends, so win-win. About the other fandoms, I still haven't made a poll, but I'm gonna do soon. And yeah, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.